Hey, I'm the Decathlon Gamer, and this is The Road to the Record, where I work to achieve mastery of 10 games in a hunt for the best score of the Decathlon. If you like what you see, remember to hit that like button. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. Let the games begin. This is F1 2019. We're on episode number 8. After the challenging last race in Monaco, we move on to brighter horizons in Montreal. We head to Canada for this one, and this is a track that I've logged good laps on. I've gotten really familiar with most of the corners. Last year's edition, I had 3 corners that still gave me a little bit of difficulty here and there. I've largely corrected all 3 of those corners, though not every lap. So I'm a lot more consistent than I was before, but getting through all 3 of those corners quite a bit faster than I have in the past. So in general, my lap times are going up and up. Part of the reason for the increase in lap times is those 2 upgrades that failed for Monaco, the time where I really desperately needed them. They have finally come to fruition. So we have new Cascade winglets, we have a new diffuser, and we also have our next upgrade purchased for next week. Again, another upgrade to the diffuser. In addition, I do have some points available. However, the next upgrade in the air department is 1,000 points. And we don't have that much. So what I was thinking is it is definitely time to start getting involved in the chassis, as the chassis is now worse than our aero quality control. This will not provide us anything, it's just an instant upgrade, but at least it'll get things ready in that chassis department, because I'd like to continue working on the aero. I have 1 upgrade coming for next week. I'd like to get one of those major upgrades made in the next week or 2, but otherwise, and that'll take a while. Otherwise, I'd like to start working on the chassis and lighten this car up a bit. And then, of course, meanwhile, I'm still going to need the powertrain at some point to have some upgrades. Otherwise, that advantage that we do have on the car is going to go away. And we'll run into some real problems on that one. So, looking at the upgrade history, where we're at, after the first upgrade to the game, a couple races in, nerfed us further. You could see the big 3 well ahead, and for some reason they have Ferrari well behind Mercedes. In reality, I don't think it really is, because in so many ways the Ferrari is a better car than the Mercedes this season. It's just Mercedes keeps making it work every weekend, while Ferrari hasn't quite figured that out. I think it's more management, less about the car. But anyway, the midfield, very tightly packed. I love that. I mean, that is so tightly packed, and it still is at this point in the season, though the Toro Rosso has slipped behind a little bit with only a couple upgrades all season so far. We have made up some ground. We went from somewhere around 85, 90 points behind the bottom of the field, and now we're only about 35, 40 points behind Toro Rosso, meaning been off the back all season long. So has Russell. He's inched his way closer to the midfield and definitely done better than I, but the gap between him and I has been less than the gap between him and Kubica in real life. And finally, I'm in a situation here that makes sense. I think for the first time I will be able to compete with some cars out on track. How many, I don't know. But in practice, I was ahead of 4 cars in FP1 and almost identical on time as Russell, but ahead of him. FP2, same thing. It was 4 cars again. Not the exact same 4 cars, but again, I was hundredths of a second ahead of George Russell on time. And then in FP3, where I ran my qualifying sim, I ran a really good time. And so with the right tires, with the right scenario, with the right lap, I'm very capable. I am the quickest in Sector 3 when I get it right. And that's one area of this where I've always had the trade-off. The hairpin and then the final chicane. Mess up the hairpin, do great on the final chicane, and they more or less balance each other out. I'm starting to figure out that hairpin. That's one of those 3 corners I was talking about. The hairpin coming onto that long final straight before that chicane, and then the finish line out in front of pit road. The chicane being, the entrance to it. That section of the track, well, I'm starting to nail that hairpin, and suddenly that's putting me fastest in that 3rd sector, while I have representative times in Sector 1 and Sector 2. I ran a couple laps out there during practice where I had Bottas behind me. He couldn't get by me. I had Hamilton behind me. He couldn't get by me. I had enough pace to hold off the Mercedes more or less. Now, Hamilton, he would have had me in the next handful of corners, and he definitely closed me up. Bottas, I was holding off a little bit better than Hamilton, but if you can't tell the reason why that would be, then you have not watched enough Formula One. But with that, our one-shot qualifying is ready to go. We're going to head into it and have some fun with this one. We're looking at nice sunny weather. We've not seen any animals out on track, so that's a change, as Montreal these last couple of years have had some animal invasions.
Welcome from the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, home to the Canadian Grand Prix, for today's qualifying session.
I'm a fan of the one-shot qualifying, but at the same time, it is challenging because it does put the pressure on.
Field today, Anthony, do you think we're going to see anyone take a chance? Maybe run the hard tyres and save some of the grippier tyres for the race tomorrow?
Well, I'd be surprised in all honesty. It's only the front runners that really have the pace to get away with that. And even then, at the end of the day, it's a big risk. Track position is...
Well, that's not counting the one-shot qualifying. Let's just get to it, because you're talking about something that really does not affect us in one-shot qualifying. Alright, well, here we go. Here's one of my 3 corners, turn 2. Always had trouble with turn 2, and the Williams, of course, has trouble with it because it has such low downforce and a bad chassis, but you can see we're hanging in there. Hamilton, yes, pulling away just a little bit, but quick through there. Holding my ground. You can see the power of the Mercedes, though, even though I've got a Mercedes engine. Oh no! Bye-bye me. I've not done that once, but I've also not pushed like this once. That's more like it. Okay, this is the one I'm talking about. That's always been such a problem for me. I'm really finding more pace through there, getting around a lot easier this time. You just have to scrub off that little bit more speed. Here's where I'm normally gaining time, as I take those curves a bit harder. Close that gap down. I don't know where I'll be.
Excellent lap. We're really pleased.
17th, hey! I was hoping for 16th, though.
And with
I suppose, considering I technically crashed, I don't deserve a higher position.
Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back
but there I am with Russell again. Magnussen, Ricardo, and Albon to the back. There's Butler. Hamilton on pole. He was the front the entire way, but it was awfully close. Bottas less than a tenth down. Gasly! Yeah, right. Poor guy, he's picked up the name Gasly. That's not a very nice nickname, but he has not driven well since taking over for Red Bull this season. They have seen some improvement in him. He, I think it was before the last 3 races, they made an executive decision that he would use Max's car setup instead of trying to develop his own. And that they would train him to be able to handle Max's setup, because Max Verstappen finds the best out of the car, while Gasly has struggled with his setup all season long and been much further adrift. He's actually been a lot closer to Max the last few races. He still hasn't done well, but the gap's been smaller. So my first real solid chance to beat my teammate, and it comes very, very close, and I've been just beating him through practice. He gets me here. But again, I think that's fully deserved, as technically I did crash, and yes, I used a flashback, and it happens. I use them less and less frequently than I did previously, but it would be nice to be able to do away with them entirely and trust myself enough, but it takes a lot of hours to get to that level, to know the tracks
Well done.
to that extent.
Very solid results. You're looking good for the race.
I did finally qualify above 20th, so I think that was the first time all season. But let's go ahead and move into the race itself on to Sunday.
We're back once again beside the St. Lawrence River here in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. The event first moved to a variant of this track back in 1978. It was won by none other than Gilles Villeneuve, the first Canadian to ever win his home race, and in whose honour the circuit would be renamed. It's one of the fastest races of the season here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, with around 60% of this 2.7-mile circuit taken at full throttle. There are 14 corners to navigate, the very last of which has its very own infamous history. It could be the cause of a safety car today. With the Grand Prix nearly upon us, Anthony Davidson is by my side once again to offer his perspective. So, let's start with Lance Stroll. Looks like they've got a tough race in store today, as grid penalties from changing power unit components has forced them further down the field.
But on the bright side, at least those fresh components can help them maintain the power they need to come through the pack. I expect to see them take a more aggressive approach today to make up for the compromised start.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Gasly, Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel and Leclerc, Weber, Raikkonen, Grosjean and Carlos Sainz, Perez, Hülkenberg, Devon Butler and Norris, Russell, the Professor, Kevin Magnussen and Daniel Ricciardo. Albon and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Difficult day for Lance Stroll, his home race, and he starts from last. We were actually quicker than him in one of the 2 practice sessions. Actually, 2 of the 3 practice sessions. Alright, so we've got an 18-lapper, and it looks like Saws are good enough to go for 8 of 18. Let's go ahead and flip this strategy, though. 10 and 8 it is. Now, so here's my thoughts on the race. I would love to keep it clean, but unlike previous races, I do want to go for it a little bit more. So there very well could be a flashback on lap number 1, but I want to be a little more aggressive because I think for a change, I really could stay competitive throughout this race if I can keep the car in one piece. Now, I don't want to do a million flashbacks or anything like that. That's not my goal. I'm not going to do it that way, push to the limit constantly. I want to drive within myself and be competitive combined. That's the goal. But I will have to be a little more aggressive on lap 1 than I typically am, where I'm just trying to get into a safe position. Here, I'd like to keep a couple positions, but if I do drop to 20th on lap number 1, avoiding contact, that's okay. That is okay by me. I can work with that as long as I'm in contact, and as long as I'm not heading to the pits with damage. From there, after that, the rest of the race, we'll see how things go. Whether I make a mistake and it costs me and I just accept it, or whether I use flashback, we'll see. I'd like to make the race as organic as possible. I like to keep it as organic as possible, but you can only do that so much when you're not a professional anyway, and you're trying to get better, and it does take a lot of stress off to know that, you know, you make a big mistake, you can easily correct it. Minor mistakes, though, I usually let those go and take the consequences of them, you know, the second lost here, second lost there, because I do run pretty consistently. It's in traffic that I'm still not so good. A la Sebastian Vettel, who is really good in individual lap pace. But when you start putting him in traffic and putting him under pressure, at least these last couple of years, it tends to not go too well for him. And by the way, qualifying pace, Leclerc is faster this season than Vettel is. Look it up. Gasly, by the way, is half a second slower, almost half a second slower than Verstappen. And Kubica is the worst in that in relation to teammate. Also Giovinazzi to Raikkonen. Those two have the worst. Gasly is like the third worst in comparison. Okay, so looks like we're set for about a 22-minute race here. And that's fine. That'll take us right to the end of the episode where we need to be. But we're all set here. We're on the grid. Like I said, I want to be a little more aggressive here in lap 1, so I wouldn't be too surprised if there's contact somewhere that I end up needing to use. But once we get through lap 1, once the field spreads out a little bit, I'd really like to just run a natural, organic race and hopefully not have to use any flashbacks after that. But with that, we're going to put up 5 red lights here in Montreal. Let's go racing. Just a tiny bit of wheel spin. It's going to knock me back a little bit. Whoa, whoa! Oh, gosh. I should have known they were going to be braking that far back, but I was not prepared for that coming up yet. Okay, we'll go to here. I almost stopped. Oh, come on, Stroll! Well, there we go, 20th. But we're going to try to squeeze back to the inside of Albon there. No. Ooh, Albon just came across the track and did not give me enough racing room, which I suppose he has the right to do that, as he certainly did have more than half a car length on me. Blocked me to the inside that time. A little weak on the exit. I was worried about getting into the gearbox. Gotta watch out for the hairpin coming up.
Not the start we were looking for, but it's not over yet. Stay focused.
That is one of the hardest turns on the race calendar. Just how tight it is. I gotta watch out here because I can go really quick. Or I can smash the wall for the first time all race weekend. Because I'm handling the corner differently due to the traffic in front of me. That's why I said I don't run in traffic terribly well. Have a hard enough time with that corner to begin with. You add in the loss of downforce with the car in front. And that was really tough through there. Alright, well everybody around me is on the softs, so this is actually really good news for me. Looks like I'm one of the only ones to go with the medium, which is going to give me an advantage later on in this race. Also, I'm not losing contact with the field. I should be in DRS zone when that unlocks. And I always close them right back down here at the end of the lap.
Race officials have enabled DRS. DRS is now available.
Woo. There you go, DRS. Hey, look at that. Field's actually really tightly packed here in the midfield, so there's a lot of cars just...
Power output will be less than optimal.
Start lifting, coasting. Oh gosh, even slowing down that much that early. Well, that was an unexpected mistake. Okay, lifted goes really early this time. Not ready to make any passes yet. I think right now I'm kind of content with my position and maybe saving up a lot of fuel. I'm kind of running clean.
Gap to teammate ahead is
And then when these guys start pitting, maybe take advantage. Have a bunch of ERS, have a bunch of extra fuel. Maybe I go light fuel mode when I get a chance here. Switch it up. Turn the ERS down. Oof, not hit that wall. That used to be one of my corners that I had problems with, but it's only a problem here because, well, you get up close to these guys and you start losing that downforce. It's a lot harder to get through these corners. So, we start employing some lift and coast. Turn the ERS off for a while. I'll keep it on medium fuel mix, but definitely looking to lift and coast more. Because these guys are all going to be pitting at around lap 7 or lap 8. Ooh. I didn't get DRS that time, huh? And then that way when they go to pit, I'm just gonna push hard and try to start picking up time that way.
Let's turn up the ERS deployment and burn some of this energy.
Oh, we've already filled it up. Okay. Well, in that case, let's switch it. Go lean on the fuel, save up a bunch of that. Lap 6, those pit stops will be coming soon, so we will push it hard as soon as we have some space in front of us. Almost screwed that one up. It's a little early on at my braking point that time. Close this gap back down a little, and lap 6, I don't think anybody's going to be pitting just yet. Nope. Is that Stroll now in back? I think Albon might have gone around Stroll there.
A few tenths per lap to the car ahead.
Nope.
They're edging away.
Drive normal for a little bit. I gotta make up this ground that I've lost here. Alright, here we go. Is this going to be it? How many are going to pit this lap? But imagine some will. Nobody's pitting yet. Wow. So let's turn this back down.
We're approaching the pit window. You'll be on the softs.
Oh, somebody pit. Front runners, those one lap used tires. I'm in P19, it's Raikkonen behind me. Oh, shoot. Nope, 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 no damaged wing. Same corner, huh? But it's only a problem when I have no downforce. Speaking of no downforce, did you see that oversteer? That's why I lost time on that exit.
5 seconds.
imagine most of those guys are going to hit this lap. The unfortunate thing for me is that I'm still going to have Vettel in front of me. Of course, I'm not going to beat him out. Ah! I tried to avoid him. I tried to go wide. He got backed up. Lift and coast. Lift and coast. There we go. DRS. I would imagine some of these guys are about to pit. I think Albon might have wanted to pit there, but he didn't. He got held up. Albon pushing me wide, not giving me the space. There we go. Hey, we completed a pass on track. Really amazed that he has not pit yet, though. This should be my time to push here. Definitely on this straight coming up.
Car ahead, now running medium tyres. We're going to box this lap, push hard on the in-lap. The gap behind us is 2.0 seconds.
Alright, here's my big push lap. I think we are definitely making some progress. Currently in P7. Of course, that's not the representative position. We have definitely passed Albon, so that's a good sign. Weak on that corner. A little too hot through the first part of the chicane. Okay, here's the tricky part coming into this. Okay, that was good. That was good. Set back to standard. Set that back to a 1. Down to 11th.
Release.
Stop. 13th. 19th. It's just Albon.
Tyres now. We want to finish the race on this compound.
No way that Albon's ahead of me. No! How is Albon ahead of me? Are you guys that slow in the pits? What the heck? I had a really good in-lap and I already passed him. At least we're competitive. We're still in a competitive position. But now I'm going to have to pass these guys actually on the track. And that sucks. I got soft tires. They're all on mediums. It's Butler now. Got the extra fuel to burn. This is probably my best chance at an overtake coming up here on the straight. Grosjean. Big dive to the inside. Get him before it. That was 3 positions all at once. A triple pass. That's Ricardo ahead of us now. Ooh, there was a problem with somebody. Wonder if that was Stroll, who hit me when I was to the inside. Okay, we're back to the 0.51 on the extra laps of fuel, which means I still have plenty. ERS is pretty low though. Big gap behind to Stroll in 17th. Got some oversteer that time, going into the chicane, but I
much longer. We're about a lap over target. Drop down to mix too soon.
thank you for the reminder. I would have just kept pushing right through the lap with it. Ricardo's starting to drive away from me. Either way, hey, we're in P16. With every car still in this race. My highest finish has been P17, and that was because 3 cars were out of the race. And I love that it was a triple overtake. And it wasn't on the straight, but in the hairpin with a hard dive to the inside. I pulled up. Well, the guy in front of me, master of that, Ricardo. Had a little wheel-to-wheel on it, but no warning, so that means the warning either went to Stroll or there was no warning. It just went down as a racing incident. But we're keeping pace.
We're trailing our teammate by 4.9 seconds.
Ooh. Wow, that's a good job by Russell. That's got to put him up a few positions from here. 5 seconds? There's 3 cars in front of me that are less than 5 seconds ahead. It's probably the next one in front of them. I need to save up a little bit of ERS here.
Battery charge is low. If we turn down the ERS deployment, we can harvest more energy.
Still Ricardo, so he's not been able to get by the guys in front of him. And it's still Stroll behind, so no change in the order. A little wide on the entrance. Made the exit a little more difficult, but I made it. Again, wide through there. I'm losing some grip on these tires here on lap 15. This is really the longest I've run on the softs all weekend.
Our gap to the car in front is 3.1 seconds.
Well, nice smooth run through here. Not running into any problems. It's been a while since I've checked behind me though. Need to do that here when I get a chance. Oh, big gap behind. And there's 4 cars right in front, and the 4th one at the front of that, which I only saw 3 that one time. But the car holding up the show, George Russell, my teammate. He's in a fantastic position. Not close enough to get in the points right now, but I feel like I've closed the gap back up a little bit on these guys. So we may not be done yet.
Dropping back by about 3/10 a lap.
There you go, 3/10 a lap faster than Stroll. That is so good. That feels so good to be competitive. Oh my goodness. Been waiting a long time for this. Of course, in real life, it's starting to happen too. Williams' last race, George Russell did not finish in 19th. There was nothing about beating cars because of DNFs. George Russell beat a few drivers on track. Finished ahead of them, was ahead of them in qualifying, was ahead of them through the race, all the way to the end. And it was beautiful to see. And it wasn't trickery, it wasn't some strategy. George Russell had enough pace. Kubica was not far off the pace, he was still the last car running, but even he was definitely closer. And here we go. Oh, Russell's going backwards. This could be good for me. We've got 1 lap to go. Final lap.
Final lap of the race.
And all of a sudden, here I am, right up on the back end of my teammate with a chance to go ahead. I'm going to save everything for one shot at the end. If I could stay close without the downforce loss, it is really hard for me to stay up on these guys. But they're worn tires. I finally have that advantage. This should help you get back up there. Hamilton, fastest lap. And race winner.
A lap of fuel now. The tank is empty.
Alright, let's go Rich. Oh no, no, no. Terrible. Ah, that was terrible. I do get DRS. I really messed up the hairpin. Way too much speed. So close. So close. Ah. Still, good race. Good race. There's my teammate. There's the other Williams right there. That felt good. That felt good. Would have felt better to get 1 or 2 passes there on that last lap, but still made a mistake on that hairpin. That cost me 3/4 tenths, and that was ultimately the difference between being able to take a dive in
They got all of these things right today, and the results
through that final chicane to get ahead of some guys.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure
Hamilton
there'll be
takes the win.
plenty of celebrations tonight
Bottas on the podium with him.
amongst the Mercedes team, and they
Is that
certainly
Gasly
deserve it.
in 3rd? Did he really hang on to 3rd? It is. Gasly with what appears to be his first career podium.
It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead.
Max takes
on the
4th,
table. Let's
so
have
no
a
change.
look
Those
at
guys
how
all
current
started in those
standings have
places.
changed.
Leclerc passed Vettel.
Who would you
Was the only
rank as
change
your
in the top
driver of
6.
the day?
Well, I certainly didn't have any complaints with Kevin Magnussen's performance today. Incredible driving.
It's time to see how things are shaping up In the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes moved to the top of the table. Another team that will be satisfied with this Grand Prix is Alfa Romeo, whose good result moves them further up the championship. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
We saw a yellow flag wave for a moment. It must have been Grosjean because he had a second stop. So he must have taken some damage and had to have an additional pit stop, dropping him down to last in the grid, in fact a lap down. Butler was last of everyone else. Everybody ran the one-stopper. Stroll only up to 18th. Albon from 19th to 17th. He qualified last. And we finished where we qualified. We got that triple overtake plus ahead of Grosjean. And ultimately it counts as on merit, but we end up just 0.3 off our teammate in this one, and that is just a phenomenal run. What a race, and we had a half-second better lap than Russell ever produced, and we were really coming with a head of steam there on those last couple laps as the others had their tires wearing down, and on that nice light fuel run, we were flying. We ended up opening a 7-second gap to the group behind us, and I had to pass them prior to doing that. So real difference from where we've been, and hopefully I can keep that going. Yes, we're still in the back. Yes, we are still not scoring points, but I mean, come on. If you expect me to be scoring points in Williams right now, that is ridiculous. And if I was scoring points right now, the difficulty would be much too low. But that's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer, and remember, I'm aiming for the best of the best. So if you're ready to join me on my journey, hit subscribe, and tune in next time on my Road to the Record. Bye for now.